106 miles to Chicago. It's 106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Good evening, Chicago Corner. My name is Deep Dish Pizza enthusiast Edward Heller, and joining me tonight, if the gremlins cooperate, is Jerry Vasilatos. And hopefully they're cooperating. We'll turn off. I don't know if your mic is muted, but you might want to unmute that, Jerry. We have breaking news. It looks like Jerry's having some technical difficulties, so he'll rejoin us in a minute. We have breaking news today. Chicago will be hosting the Democratic National Convention in 2014. And ladies and gentlemen, Law Club Chicago brings us the story. Chicago had been in competition with Atlanta and New York City. Democratic National Convention will be held in summer of 2024. President Joe Biden said Tuesday the city has been selected for the massive political event, according to multiple reports. Chicago had been in competition with Atlanta and New York, as we mentioned a few seconds ago. It said local leaders lobbied hard for a year for the convention to take place here, inviting party leaders to the city in July to make their case. Tens of thousands of people are expected to visit Chicago during the August 19th through the 22nd, 2024 convention, bringing in tourist dollars to hotels, shops, and other local businesses. And looks like Jerry's still fighting gremlins on his computer system. The stream gremlins are fighting hard tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight, and especially our Patreon supporters who we listed earlier in the show opening. And if you'd like to be a Patreon supporter, you can support us at patreon.com/Chicago Corner. Now, I got a few videos I can start playing for us while Jerry's working out some technical difficulties. And yeah, here's one of them. The last time that Chicago had a Democratic National Convention was 1996. And here is a quick look back at the most important part of that convention.
The moment everyone remembers will start up here. Pounds and pounds of mylar and paper confetti have been strung up, along with more than 100,000 balloons. And at the right moment tonight, the nets will be cut.
We believe this is the most balloons ever used by any convention.
Florida Delegate Diane Glasser says such a moment can't be missed. She arrived at the hall 4 hours early today.
Wanted to make sure that we got in and got a seat and that we're able to see what we wanted to see.
And there you have it. Balloons. The most important part. The end, where they drop the balloons. So the question I have is, will they outdo themselves in 2024 with their balloon and confetti game? What do you think in the chat, ladies and gentlemen? I want to welcome everybody who's in the chat right now. I think I saw Uncle Warren in there from Extra Bulla. Welcome, Warren. Big Mr. Firebird, I know you're tuning in late where you're from. So you're saying it's 1:30 over there. And busy painting a miniature bald eagle the size of your fingernail. So that's a challenge. And okay, who else is here? Whose house is here with us? Oh, that E. Heller guy. He's in the chat too. He's weird. Jimmy, welcome. Kathy Powers, good to see you. Who else is in here? Nobody else yet in the chat, but if you're watching us and you're not in the chat, welcome. This is a show called Chicago Corner. And my name is Deep Dish Pizza Enthusiast Edward Heller. With me usually is our Friday host, Jerry Vasilatos, and it looks like he's still having some camera issues, but when he gets back on, I'm sure he's going to jump right back in and join us. So we were talking, yes, welcome back, Jerry. We were talking about the confetti and balloon drop that they like to do with these things.
Is this working now?
I can hear you.
Am I not anymore?
It looks a little blocky on my end. I don't know how people are seeing you out there in the internet land. Can you guys hear Jerry okay?
Well, I want to be in a straw band for the absolute person was at the show, and so it was like, anyway,
Okay.
hopefully I'll be able to hang in.
Yeah, I heard every other word, but I'm holding on for dear life that your stream quality will improve during the evening. So I just played a little clip from 1996 coverage from NBC where they were talking about the balloon and confetti drop before they actually did the drop, and how people were super excited, hoping and waiting for that. But the other interesting part about this is that this would be, I think, we've had a bunch of political conventions here, but we've had 3 Democratic political conventions going back to 1968. And there is a video talking about that from ABC Chicago.
Chicago holds the record. It has hosted far more political conventions than any other city in the country, 11 Democratic and 4 Republican.
We've had conventions since the 1860 convention that nominated Abraham Lincoln.
The 1996 Democratic Convention is the most recent one hosted by Chicago.
The whole point of this convention was to redeem the city's stained reputation from the '68 disaster.
A disaster captured by TV cameras for the whole world to see. Outside the convention, protesters were beaten by Chicago police in what turned into a riot when Mayor Richard J. Daley enforced a curfew in the parks.
Secondly, he tried to control the floor of the convention as he had done in previous conventions, and that backfired.
Political parties stayed away from Chicago for 28 years until President Bill Clinton chose the city for his second presidential nomination. Longtime City Hall reporter Bill Cameron says the choice was a reward for Mayor Richard M. Daley and his brother Bill, who helped Clinton get elected in 1992.
Bill Daley, in particular, had helped Clinton get NAFTA through Congress, which was real heavy lifting.
Cameron covered the convention and will never forget one moment that had nothing to do with politics.
But I remember Al Gore at the podium taking his wife Tipper into his arms
and giving her a big old kiss. Yeah, I remember that too.
Dipping backwards and planting a big sloppy kiss on her.
Cameron also recalls a stiff Al Gore and convention delegates breaking out into the Macarena. Overall,
you guys remember the Macarena? You remember the Macarena, Jerry?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Is my signal back?
I can kind of hear you. Your video's a little choppy.
My mouth frozen, and I don't even know if I can't hear I'm on or not. I'm gonna restart my computer and come back. So if you can hear that, let me type the chat.
Okay, Jerry will join us momentarily. If he's still battling demons on his end. I don't know if a ghost cow is involved, but we're gonna keep watching this video and hope that he can make it back in to help us with the rest of the show.
96 convention was considered a huge success. It didn't hurt that in 1996, protesters were kept about a mile away in a designated area. Modern-day political conventions have very little drama. They're all well scripted and tend to be pep rallies for each political party. Watch.
Yeah, did you hear that last part there? Well scripted pep rallies. Now, I know a lot of you are probably not shocked by that. Also, a lot of you are probably not shocked by this little pop-up over here talking about a volcano that just erupted in Russia. Did you guys hear about that? I wasn't going to talk about it, except it just popped up on the screen here. Apparently, that's another story that ABC7 is covering. But no, we're not going to cover that tonight. But what we will jump into. Oh, actually, let's get into the chat for a little bit here. Yes, Kathy Powers is booing Al Gore and Tipper, I'm guessing. I don't know if Pegleg is involved, Kathy, with the stuff, but the ghost cow likes to do shenanigans, I am told. I know Uncle Warren has been talking about that a lot. Okay. Yeah. Big Mr. Firebird, Tipper Gore is the reason for those not suitable for airplay stickers they used to put on CDs, music CDs. Some of you remember music CDs before everything went digital. She was big on music censorship. 1968 was a scary time, Pat Brannigan says. My first husband's father let a lot of the anti-war demonstrators stay at his house. My dad was a Republican and was feeling very superior at the time. He kept us home. Yeah, I mean, 68's a few years before my time, but I do remember seeing the news stories because Chicago would always talk about the 68 riots, and especially around the time of the convention. And there's this famous quote from old Mayor Daley where he says, the police are not there to cause disorder. They're there to preserve disorder. So, it's been like that for a while. Okay, let's flip over to another story. We know that Brandon Johnson was just elected as mayor of Chicago. But nobody's really asking yet, except for Sun Times and WBEZ, about his Cook County board seat, which he's now going to have to give up. So here is an article from Kristen Schorsch titled, "Let the Jockeying Begin for Brandon Johnson's Cook County board seat," because he was one of the Cook County board commissioners. Chicago is in Cook County. A replacement for the mayor-elect seat on the board will be chosen by a group of elected Democrat committeemen. The new commissioner would serve a little over 2 years. So that's this is Toni Preckwinkle. She's the president of the Cook County Board, standing in the blue. Okay, or do we call this teal? What do you think? What do you think, live chat? Are we calling this teal, turquoise? I guess we could do a poll. No, I'm just messing with you. Okay. Here we go. With Cook County Commissioner Brandon Johnson set to become Chicago's next mayor, the jockeying begins to pick his replacement on the county board. That decision falls to a group of elected Democratic committee people in Johnson's district, which encompasses parts of the west side of Chicago and west suburbs, including Oak Park. Illinois Senate President Don Harmon of Oak Park would likely lead the proceedings as committeeman for Oak Park Township, which makes up the largest part of Johnson's district in terms of votes in the last November general election, said Jacob Kaplan, executive director of the Cook County Democratic Party. As for whether there are any preferred candidates to fill the seat, the county's Democratic Party isn't saying. I have not heard any names yet, Kaplan said. A campaign spokesman for Johnson said there were no recommendations from Johnson to his knowledge. So basically, it's too early to even do this story. So I'm pulling it down. How's everybody holding up in the chat there on a Tuesday? I know I didn't have tacos today. I had hot dogs today. I was out visiting family in the suburbs earlier today, and there's this great hot dog place not too far from where my relatives live, out in Streamwood, called Nana's. And if you guys are familiar with Gene and Jude's, which is usually one of the more famous hot dog joints, they make them similar. They steam the hot dogs, they take fresh cut fries and put them on top and wrap it all up. Good stuff. It looks like Jerry's trying to come back in, but if he's still battling demons over there, I'll just wait until he's ready.
How do I look now?
You're still very blocky on my end.
Yeah. Well, this is. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. I want to thank Astound RCN Broadband for the absolute shitty upstream right now, because I'm on hardwired connection, and this is the quality of the internet that I'm getting.
Yeah, what the hell, RCN? Come on, man.
We have a show to do, RCN, don't you?
Get it together, RCN. I'd let you share my Wi-Fi, but I'm too far away from you, Jerry. But hopefully, I won't. Yeah, I mean, except for now, hopefully I'll be able to let you get some a word in edgewise for the rest of these stories. I didn't really think there was too much to cover about the Cook County Commissioner seat that Brandon Johnson is leaving open, because it's still kind of early to tell what they're going to do. He's not making any recommendations.
Okay. I had a story I wanted to the top of the show along with the convention that actually was dropped an hour ago. So hopefully my internet connection will operate, and I'll add this. Walmart's closing stores in Chicago. Right on the heels of Brandon Johnson winning the election.
I did hear about that.
So share is reported by June, because there was an interesting comment on Twitter in regards to this and the timing as well, which I thought was interesting. So this comes from Talia Uglin at the Chicago Tribune. Walmart will shutter Chicago locations by the end of the week. That's how quickly they're doing it, by the end of the week. The company says, citing the store's unprofitability as the reason for the closures. The slated to close are these neighborhood markets in Grand Boulevard. Hang on a second. Grand Boulevard. I'm trying to scroll the screen down. View.
Jerry, can you send me a link to that?
Can I send you a link? Yeah.
Yeah.
if my copy and paste will cooperate. But doing that, let me finish reading. I'll send you the link, because anything that I do here is time memory and interrupt my being able to like get through sharing something. My screen is frozen. Just like let me read a story. Let me just try to get through this, because now I'm stuck. Hang on a second. Let me see if this screen. No, are you seeing me? Or are you hearing me? Right now, I'm the sitting ball of death on this end. Hello?
Hang on. Hold on. Let me see. Where the hell? Yeah. Hold on.
Now, because I will never.
Oh, I guess we ran out of video hold music, so we're on again. Oh boy.
Can you see me?
I can see you, Jerry. It's just your audio is a little. Yeah, it's a little choppy.
All right,
we are live. We are live right now.
Let me finish the Tribune story. Through one goddamn story before I have to just and Walmart. Okay.
Okay. Take it slow though, because your audio's breaking up a little.
Spokesperson Tisha McCraney said Walmart is in conversations. Hold on a second. I'm going to start this over again. All right. Because asking to open up my control panel has just frozen everything up. Walmart will serve 4 locations by the end of the week, the company said Tuesday, citing the store's unprofitability as the reason for closures. The store is slated to close the company's neighborhood markets in Grand Boulevard, Lakeview, and the Village, as well as its supercenter in Chatham, which also includes a health center, Walmart Academy Training Center, Walmart employees and members. Did that come through?
How are you guys hearing it? Because I'm hearing every other word from Jerry right now. You know what I could do is we could mute your microphone and I could just have you talk through my phone in the speaker of my phone, and I can feed it through the microphone for now, if that's helpful. Should we try
Can
to
you hear
do
me?
that?
Can you hear me right now, Ed?
Yes.
All right. I'm not going to keep interrupting the show because of these problems. I'm just going to mail out, send you the link to this. You can read it. I wish I could participate, but unfortunately,
Okay.
whatever other forces are at work are allowing me to do this, to participate in a way that our viewers can, like, follow things without these technical difficulties. So I just texted you the link in the private chat. I'm going to call Astound Broadband, find out what the F is up with my service, and if I can join you later, I'll try to. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what to say. It's unfortunately, it is what it is.
These things happen. I was having internet problems a few nights back, so it's unfortunately it's just part of the janky thing that we deal with when we are streaming. So hopefully Jerry can join us a little later. I want to thank Jerry for trying tonight. We'll hopefully see him a little bit later on in the story. I don't see a link to the Tribune story, but essentially, Walmart is closing 4 locations in Chicago. I saw a link to that story earlier today, and it may or may not have something to do with Brandon Johnson. I know that his opponent, Paul Vallis, had ties to Walmart, so maybe that had something to do with it, but we'll see. Okay, I got the link now. Yeah, so let's try that again. Let's see if we can do this. Okay, so yeah, there's the companies. They always talk about how things aren't profitable, blah blah blah, and the truth is, a lot of places don't want Walmart in their neighborhood because they move in and then all the small businesses end up going under, or they move in and then they pay people super low wages, and to the point where they have to be on social assistance programs, and that doesn't help anybody. And then when Walmart decides they're going to close a place, that's basically pulling the rug out from under whatever community that store was in. So that's the summary of that. So we'll see what else we can move on to tonight. Oh, there are a few stories going on here. We got there's a Portillo's location. You got, speaking of hot dogs, from the Chicago Sun-Times, and whatever advertisement that is slowing my computer down. Hold on. Portillo's employees to vote on unionizing. So the workers at a company site in Addison, Illinois, where there was a brief strike in 2021, will decide Thursday, that's in 2 days, whether to join the Ironworkers Union. So this is from David Roeder from April 7th. So we've got Portillo's, a purveyor of Chicago-style hot dogs and other local favorites, has a Chicago-style labor issue on its hands. Workers at the company's food preparation center in Addison will vote Thursday on whether to unionize. The National Labor Relations Board scheduled the election after the employees showed interest in joining the Ironworkers Union, formerly called the International Association of Bridge, Structural, Ornamental, and Reinforcing Ironworkers Union. That's a mouthful. Brenda Bedoya, organizer for the union, said the proposed bargaining unit would cover 49 people. They cook and slice beef and peppers, make gravy, ship and receive orders, and perform other functions to serve Portillo's Chicago area restaurants. Fernando Jimenez, a forklift driver at Addison and organizer of the union drive, said workers want a contract that will guarantee better wages and benefits. Well, how did I love it when the page jumps on me. Hold on. Where? I think there's a lot of technical difficulties happening on the internet right now. I know what's going on. Maybe some weird electrical disturbance, some paranormal thing in the Chicagoland area. Yeah. So Bedoya said the campaign marks the first time the Ironworkers Union has organized food service staff. Unions identified with specific trades have organized outside of those ranks to build bargaining strength and dues revenue. Oak Brook-based Portillo's has been a publicly traded company since October 2021. Now, here's the part I read that I think is probably important. Now that Portillo's is public, its wages are stagnant, Jimenez said. When it was private, the now 60-year-old company, they just turned 60, used to provide small raises every 6 months, if just 25 cents an hour, he said. Arise Chicago, a faith-based group that supports workers' rights, assisted the workers in organizing. Portillo's reports having 72 locations in 7 states. That's a lot of locations. Most are located in Northeast Illinois. I think there's 1 or 2 in California, if memory serves. The company has said it wants to expand its number of outlets by 10% per year, up to about 600 locations in the U.S. Expansion is great, Bedoya said, but we don't think it's fine if they're doing it on the backs of workers who help build the economy. Now, he's making a perfect point here, right? Shouldn't you make sure that your employees are have a living wage, are making ends meet before you decide to funnel all your profits toward expansion? Shouldn't you make sure that everybody is doing okay, like your employees, so that you're thriving not just in monetarily but also as an organization? So I mean, that's a great point from Bedoya there. So here's an animated ad I'm going to scroll past, and let's see. That's it. I think that's it for that story. So let's move on to other things, shall we? Where are we at? Let's check the live chat and see if anybody is actually in there. Nobody in Rockfin. Yes, lots of people talking on YouTube. Mad Matt, yeah, we hope Jerry will be able to join us later. Otherwise, yes, Kathy, we will blame Pegleg for this. I can't even bring the chats up. What the heck? Oh. It's like literally I have ghosts pressing buttons to turn things off over here. It's weird. Let's see. Richest country in the world, supposedly the best country in the world, and our internet sucks. Yes, Pat Brannigan. Yeah, Big Mr. Firebird, you're right. Jerry kind of sounded like Stephen Hawking for a little bit there. Yeah, I have. Are you guys seeing when I put Mad Mad up on the screen? Because I'm not seeing it on my end here. Oh, wait, here we go. Ooh, yeah, I think the entire internet is wonky today. There he is. So, yeah, some people recognize Meatwad. The reason Meatwad's here is because I kind of felt like I needed a co-host in case I didn't have one, like on my own camera. And he came from a set, actually. It was an Aqua Teen Hunger Force set. And it had Meatwad and Master Shake and Frylock as inflatables. And the Master Shake one sprung a leak, so I never could keep him fully inflated. It would always just shrink down to like a flattened cup, like in that one episode where he kind of melts. And then Frylock, my niece and nephew started playing with him, and they were basically playing tug of war with the fries that are his hair, the fries that stick out of his head. And so they were tugging back and forth, and they broke him. So Meatwad, Aqua Teen remaining. and he's happy to be here and joining you all this evening. Big Mr. Firebird is done painting the eagle on a fingernail, so I'm looking forward to seeing a photo of that. Maybe you post it on Twitter and at Chicago Corner TV, so we can check that out. Let's see. How much training do you need to work in a Walmart? I don't know. It's probably a lot of skill to be a greeter, right? Or at least you got to have. I would think you have to at least have a good interactive kind of personality, but maybe not. At any rate, people need a living wage regardless of what you do. Where are we at? Where are we at in the chat here? Oh, okay. I'm trying to scroll down as fast as I can here. You guys are chatting up a storm in the live chat. Let's see. Oh, Kathy's got a poem. Can I read the poem, Kathy? Here's a poem, hot off the presses, from Kathy Powers. Palos Paul. There once was a con man named Vallis, known for his greed and was callous. To close public schools was one of his rules. It kept him from Chi-Town's rich palace. Copyright Kathy Powers 2023. Okay. What else we got here? Oh, yeah. Ghost of Peg Leg strikes again. I don't think anything's on fire yet, although I heard that we might have fiery type conditions from one of our friends, but Peg Leg didn't do it. Let's go back to the show notes, see what else we can talk about this evening. Oh, yeah. There was, Cam Buckner tweeted earlier today. I think it was today. Let's see if we can get that up on the screen for you. And if you guys are having video problems seeing me or hearing me, let me know. Cam Buckner says, in February, I urged the city to follow state law and restart the CTA Citizens Advisory Board. Today, that process has started. We are moving in the right direction. I'll always believe that fighting for the right thing is the right thing. So, yeah, I mean, he didn't win the mayoral race, but he seems to be a good guy, and I think he's going to be a really good ally for Brandon Johnson. So here we are. CTA seeks applications for Citizens Advisory Board. Chicago Transit Board is seeking new members for the CTA Citizens Advisory Board, which advises CTA on issues, services, and policies related to meeting the transportation needs of the region's customers. And it goes on talking about the history of the board, blah, blah, blah. Members serve a 2-year term. Okay, so there is a link in the show notes. And, yeah, let me just copy that, and we'll put that in the chat really quick here. So if you want to apply for that Citizens Advisory Board, head over to transitchicago.com/citizens-advisory-board. I think I know Kathy's going to want to do that, right, Kathy? All right, so yeah, it's in the show notes in case you missed that, Kathy. Okay. Some of you may have heard the news that Chicago Corner is now at the front end of being a worker co-op. So I figured, well, you know, it's a learning process. So let's see how other organizations might be doing, trying to go through that process. Some of them not so great. Some of them are dealing with hiccups. And did you know worker co-ops, you know, once they have enough employees or whatever in their co-op, they also can have employee unions inside the co-op. Yeah, it gets complicated. So Here we are with a Tribune article about the Logan Square Grocery Co-op. Let's see if I can get that to show up here. Illegally fired 2 workers. Some of you may remember the Dill Pickle Food Co-op. Okay. It says a Logan Square Grocery Co-op illegally fired 2 workers and disciplined others who participated in walkouts at the store. A National Labor Relations Board judge ruled Thursday. Now, let's get to the bottom of this. It says the Dill Pickle Food Co-op must offer reinstatement to the 2 workers it fired, Administrative Law Judge Arthur Amchan ruled. It must also pay them for any loss of earnings that resulted from their firings. The Dill Pickle at 2746 North Milwaukee must cease and desist from discharging or otherwise discriminating against employees for engaging in protected, concerted activity, Amchan ordered. This ruling comes after workers filed unfair labor practice charges with the NLRB last year. The case was tried during a 3-day hearing in the NLRB's Chicago offices in January. The Dill Pickle can appeal the ruling. General Manager Italia McCarthy? Yeah, said any decision about whether to appeal the ruling would have to be discussed with the board and the co-op's attorney. McCarthy said the co-op would not issue a statement about the decision before it met with union stewards early next week. Now, why were they fired? It had to do, I think it had to do with the lockdown. Let's see if we can find that a little further down in the story here. Let's see. Kenan Rogers, 21, was one of the 2 co-op staff members. Amchan ruled was fired illegally by Dill Pickle last spring. Rogers worked as facilities assistant at the store, cleaning, stocking shelves, and sometimes working at the cash register. At the time, he told the Tribune he was living in Logan Square with his mom and other family members, supporting the family with rent. Losing his job was a financial hardship. I used up all my savings, he said. Some Dill Pickle employees participated in walkouts in December 2021 and January 2022 over concerns about COVID-19 exposures. Crowding in the store that made social distancing difficult, and in one case because they believed another employee had been unfairly disciplined. There's a lot of stuff we didn't know back then, and I imagine a lot of businesses really didn't know how to behave or react to all the information as it started evolving and unfolding. So I'm not surprised that stuff like this happened. Hopefully they can work through their differences and move forward, because it's good to have worker-owned co-ops. It's good to have unions. So, I mean, you're representing labor and you're sharing ownership. Those seem to be good ways to move forward for a lot of businesses. Some of them might not find that a good way to go, but we'll see how it goes, right? Okay. Casey McIver says, I friggin', and that's how I'm going to say it. I friggin' love pickles, especially dill, but bread and butter is my backup. Yeah, I like the garlic dill, the kosher dill. Those are my favorite. And when I have the money for them, I like to buy those fancy spicy pickles that they have. I forget, Sucker Punch. Yeah, if you heard of those are pretty good. So yeah. So here we go. There are a lot of opinions in this article. They're saying that the owners of the co-op didn't like the union. I mean, who knows? I mean, just because you own a co-op doesn't necessarily mean you're gung-ho about labor rights for everybody. But you got to make those decisions for your organization, and then you have to decide what's fair to everybody, right? So here we are. Let's see. Unfair labor practice charges were filed by our old bargaining union, the IWW. Oh, okay. They were part of the International Workers Union, whatever that's called. But then they formed their own, which is, I think, the Dill Pickle Co-op Union Workers Union. Yeah. Dill Pickle Food Co-op, your Workers Union. Okay. Management and our new union are actively working with one another right now to try and mitigate some of the issues that we have had in the past, and it's been a very good relationship thus far. Okay, that sounds like good news. So, obviously they got to work through. Casey, in a previous episode, we explained what happened where we had me and Jerry and Kira decided that we wanted to try and form a worker co-op. So we had a talk and ended up where we are today. So we're at the front end of a worker co-op that just got started. So we're working on things. I think we have a basic set of bylaws set up and all that other stuff, but it's kind of early. So we're going to, we already have, production meetings. So it's just going to be a thing where, without getting too far into the weeds, we're just going to be talking with each other about how to move forward. It's all good. Everything's good. Okay. What do we have here? Yes. At this point, it looks like they're just kind of back and forth with the people who got fired and the people who are dealing with the National Labor Relations Board. And they're talking about the things that the Dill Pickle Food Co-op violated and labor laws. And hopefully they're trying to make it right. Although it says a lot of people have moved on and the damage has been done, the way that people were let go was unreasonable and unjust. So yeah, I mean, people do crazy things when they have things like a pandemic just completely turn everything upside down. And unfortunately, it didn't work out well for some of the employees of the Dill Pickle Food Co-op. So I'm hoping that we're going to have some sunny skies ahead with our co-op. But again, I want to make sure that we're covering all the bases and covering the information. So these guys were a co-op. They had some difficulties. So I think it's something that a lot of people should, consider, going forward to do what you got to do. Oh, and Jerry, let's see. Jerry's he's raising holy hell with RCN right now because his upstream is making it nearly impossible to join me this evening. So hopefully they can fix that quickly. If not, if he can't join us tonight, we'll definitely have him rejoin us on Friday where he's hosting. And any stories that he might have wanted to fit in tonight, he'll definitely be covering on Friday. So that was our co-op corner for today. I wasn't fully prepared with that article because I do have a full-time job outside of Chicago Corner. And so I'm gathering stories through the week as I see them to think, okay, well, maybe I want to talk about that story. So if you guys have any stories you might be interested in us talking about or covering and you seeing through the work week, you can always message us on Twitter at Chicago Corner TV, or you can email Jerry at chicagocorner.tv, or you can go to our Facebook page, which I think is also Chicago Corner TV, and post a comment. Let us know what you guys want us to talk about here. We mostly come from a Chicago perspective, and we try to cover a lot of the local stuff, but we're also covering a little more of the national stories from time to time. But I think I've got one more local story before I start getting into some of the national things I wanted to talk about. But they're also related to things happening here in Chicago because, and I'll give you just a hint, we're going to talk about derailments just for a little bit, because we are concerned here having train tracks in the Chicago area and having to also need to deal with companies like Norfolk Southern. I think it's good for us to keep an eye on what's happening in other cities around the country. But before we get into that, let's get into this. Yes, NASCAR. Hey guys, remember how Chicago's going to have a NASCAR race next year? And how crazy and insane that idea is? Well, they're still doing it. And then apparently it's going to shut down a bunch of traffic while they're doing it. So there is a Block Club Chicago story, but I think for time's sake, I'm going to cut over to a video from CBS 2. So if you want to hang on just a second, I'll see if I can get that up here. Oh, we got. I love it when the ads preload on these things. It's just, you know. All right, stand by for news.
Months now.
Whoa.
We're learning the traffic
Hang on.
headaches will begin long before then.
Let me rewind that. Okay.
Well, in just a few months, NASCAR will be racing through the streets of Chicago.
But we're learning the traffic headaches will begin long before then. CBS 2's Marissa Perlman is live in Grant Park with just released plans for the NASCAR street race. Marissa.
Well, get ready for some traffic confusion, Joe and Erica, as NASCAR heads here to Grant Park. There are closures set for streets around Grant Park, and they could last longer than a month as the city gears up for this first-of-its-kind race. It's a little early to smell the burnt rubber or see the tire marks around Grant Park. But this city is already preparing for the summer as Chicago hosts the first ever Cup Series street race in NASCAR's 75-year history. You'll see crews repairing roads on Columbus and Roosevelt Road already. We drove the 12-turn, 2.2-mile course where top NASCAR drivers will weave through the park on closed-off streets lined with grandstands. The city hopes it, too, will be filled with thousands of fans.
One of the big initiatives is to drive tourism to the city of Chicago. Looking at our sales currently, we have representation from 48 states in 12 different countries.
Okay, I'm going to stop this here right now because I have a bone to pick with the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois. And it has to do with the inbound Kennedy Expressway and the city not coordinating with the state on the shutdown for the construction of the inbound Kennedy Expressway before fixing all of the alternate routes, which are riddled with potholes. And now they are all gung-ho about fixing the streets where the NASCAR race is going to be. And meanwhile, the rest of us are struggling. The ones of us that have to commute are struggling to dodge potholes so that we don't have a huge repair bill for our cars, because you can't be bothered to coordinate with each other to make sure the roads are in good condition before you start any kind of construction project or little what would you call this? A glamour project, little fun project of your NASCAR race. So obviously they want tourists to come in here, but if the tourists are driving in, what? You're trying to make more business for all the repair shops in the area because of all the flat tires these tourists are going to get? Because if you don't fix all the roads, especially the ones that aren't where the race are, then what the hell is the point?
With obviously 80 some days left to go, we anticipate those numbers will just continue to grow.
But change starts weeks before the race. The city is also prepping drivers for a potential for a traffic mess, which will include road closures and parking restrictions. The most significant closures will start on Sunday, June 25th, just after midnight. Columbus Drive will be closed between Jackson and Roosevelt Road. You'll also want to be aware of a road closure starting June 28th at 10. Southbound DuSable Lakeshore Drive is closed from Randolph to McFettridge Drive. And
that's insane. I mean, anybody trying to commute from Lakeshore Drive from north to south is screwed. Columbus, that might, I mean, that's an alternate street that people don't have anymore. Now that's going to, it looks like they're closing part of southbound Michigan Avenue. How are people going to get downtown? All the cab drivers, the Lyft and Uber drivers, they're going to be having to drop people off multiple blocks away from a lot of locations. I would think people from the American Disabilities Association might have a problem with that. Just saying. I mean, I can walk now. I mean, I'm in much better shape than I used to be. I mean, there used to be a time where I could stand for a short period of time before my spine problems would start kicking in, but I don't have those problems anymore. And so I can empathize with people who have certain types of physical disabilities, or anybody who has any kind of situation where they can't walk wherever the hell they have to go. So while it's cool for the people who are in great shape and not disabled or anything, and they can walk on all the sidewalks downtown, I mean, we don't have hover cars yet. They do have drones that fly, and so technically if someone brilliant really wanted to try and strap a few of those together to help people get around the city, that would be pretty cool. But honestly, you're just creating more congestion in a time where you really can't afford to have it.
And Friday, June 30th at 5, southbound Michigan Avenue between Balboa and Jackson Drive will close. Once race weekend gets underway on July 1st, Lakeshore Drive is closed again between McFettridge and Randolph. That starts at 4 a.m. And once the race is over, it will take weeks to break down. You won't see roads and sidewalks fully open until July 15th.
So some of these closures may be familiar to drivers and to pedestrians, just like when the city gets ready for big summer events here in Grant Park, Lollapalooza, Taste of Chicago. But there is a map you're going to want to study. We've also talked about alternate routes you're going to want to get to know really well. All of that on our website, CBS.
Yeah, but there's no alternate routes left. There. Come on. It's like, we're going to have some construction. Make sure to take alternate routes. Oh, we're going to have some more construction. Make sure to take alternate routes. How many alternate routes remain if everything's under construction? I don't know. Kathy Powers suggests they could take the CTA. She said somebody took a dump on the 36 bus today. Well, that would make it the number 2 bus, Kathy. I know that was a cheap shot. Yeah. So, Casey McIver, I wanted to welcome you into the chat and thank you for contributing. I don't entirely know if I was following the whole conversation, but yeah, a lot more people are probably going to have to walk. I just hope, I hope that the people who may not be physically able are not overly inconvenienced. Although Kathy Powers can attest to the problems we're already having on the CTA with broken elevators, which they really need to get around to fixing. And I'm hoping Brandon Johnson makes that one of his priorities to make sure that the CTA has a lot more support than it's currently getting. So, Kathy says, how about NASCAR during the convention? Well, you mean to have the race actually go through the convention hall? Like a, I don't know, crash up derby, hit and run kind of situation? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what we can wrangle out of that. What else was next? I think that was it for the NASCAR portion of the evening. I wanted to jump in for a little bit to talk about our infrastructure. And let's see if I can get this story to come up here. If I close tabs, will you cooperate, computer? We'll see. Hang on, stand by. Close a couple tabs. Okay. Nope, I need my show notes. Don't close that one. So, you guys may be familiar with the Palestine, Ohio derailment, the cluster fudge over there, where a bunch of trains with hazardous chemicals derailed. The company Norfolk Southern went out there and basically made a unilateral decision to, instead of trying to stop the leakage and contain it, they would instead set it on fire in a huge fireball gas cloud, which I think was kind of a bad idea. Anyway, so I know the feds are trying to hold them accountable, although they're not working very fast. And meanwhile, we know that at least 1,000 derailments are happening. Is it a year? And those derailments, they're not stopping. So back on Saturday, Norfolk Southern train cars derail in Pittsburgh. Now you can see the videos kind of playing there from this story. 5 Norfolk Southern train cars derailed in Pittsburgh on Saturday, according to a company spokesperson. The steel cars were empty. Now, okay, so maybe they got lucky this time. But hold my beer, because also on Saturday, another train in Jasper, Alabama derails, injuring 2 crew members. Locomotive and 11 train cars derailed in Jasper on Saturday night, briefly trapping and injuring 2 crew members. Oh, why did that jumped up? Hold on a second. Okay. There it is. The railroad said the derailment did not involve hazardous materials and there's no danger to the community. Of course they said that. But was there an actual hazmat situation? Time will tell. It said the locomotive rolled on its side, spilling diesel fuel and engine oil. Well, that's not exactly great. You know, that's sort of a hazmat, isn't it? Just, I don't know. I don't trust Norfolk Southern to tell us the truth about their derailments going forward, to be honest with you. So, oh, what else? Yeah, let's take a look at the Jasper, Alabama video here. Yes, Casey, it's called pollution. All right. Yeah, Kathy, we're getting there. Here, this is... All right, and we don't need the sound for this, but yeah, these trains, the infrastructure's falling apart. Why they're choosing not to fix it when their entire business model is get products from point A to point B safely and quickly. Now, if you go with quickly, but you don't go with safely, this is what happens. It's insane to me that they aren't stepping it up to really go above and beyond. So, yeah, we're going to check. Oh, hang on a second. Let's see if Jerry's working today. Okay,
Yeah.
Activate Jerry robots.
Sound acceptable?
It seems similar to the last time you connected.
Okay, so real quick update before I bow out of the show for the rest of the evening for what you hear. My update should be about 6.4. It's 3 right now. Sending a technician out because they can't assess what's going on. Reboots and signal restarts. I think I've got a shit that they're going to have to replace now. So without further interruption, Ed, I'll let you continue. Sorry that all this happened.
Okay. Hopefully Jerry will have this fixed for Friday. Thanks for joining me, Jerry, and thanks for the update. It sounds like his upstream has been a bit jacked, and so it's hard to really do a whole lot of bandwidth upload with different changes and content stuff when you don't have a solid internet upstream. Most people have good downstream stuff so they can watch movies and stuff, but when you're streaming a live show like this, your upstream needs to be a certain amount of megabits up, or you start having issues like we saw with Jerry this evening. So with that said, yeah, it sounds like Jerry's got he's got gremlins in his internet modem, and so that's that. Oh, hold on a second. And yes, that's what I wanted to put up on the screen. I wanted to show something for comparison, because while we're watching the loop on this little derailment here, I want to show you what other countries are able to do. Meanwhile, in China, check this out. Look at this. Look at how amazing these stations look. Look at how fast these cars go. America could have this. And for the life of me, I cannot understand why Congress can't pull the stick out and just do proper funding for American infrastructure. They could do it. It wouldn't cost you a penny, because federal spending doesn't need your tax dollars. They can just choose to do something, the funds are created, and then they can do it. And we know that they can do it because of all the money they funnel into the projects that they want to do, like war. Without getting any deeper into that, let's go to, let's go to the what I'm calling the YGBKFM news. And hold on a second, let me see if I got this page ready here. Okay. This is from the Daily Mail in the UK. And it's about a story in the US, which Kathy already mentioned in the live chat here. Truck carrying toxic soil from East Palestine train derailment crashes on highway and overturns. But officials again say there's nothing to worry about.
You gotta be f***ing kidding me.
So that's why I call it the YGBFKM story, because toxic soil from the East Palestine derailment being transported in a truck, and it tips over.
You gotta be f***ing kidding me.
I don't know if you're seeing that video because I'm hitting the button and it's not doing anything. But let's try that one more time.
You gotta be f***ing kidding me.
Okay. So hopefully I will get the fair use and they won't be hitting me with a bunch of stuff But yeah, so here we are. And I can read a little bit from the story here. Hope Sloop. That's a great author name. For DailyMail.com. A truck carrying soil polluted by the East Palestine, Ohio train derailment overturned Monday afternoon in Columbiana County, spilling out 20,000 pounds of toxic soil. According to, that's half of the load there. According to the local authorities and the Ohio EPA, the truck was carrying 40,000. Yeah, that's what I just said. 40,000 pounds of contaminated soil from the derailment site at the time. Despite dumping out thousands of pounds of contaminated soil along the roadway, the Ohio State Highway Patrol said the spill was contained and is not a threat to nearby waterways. The Highway Patrol said, really? You're not gonna ask scientists if maybe that might be a problem? You're gonna ask the Highway Patrol. Okay. The crash comes just 2 months after a Norfolk Southern train went off the tracks on February 3rd in East Palestine while carrying numerous hazardous substances. Residents in the area have been jostled back and forth by local officials, having been forced to evacuate initially and then later told there was no cause for concern. So yeah, so that's this top picture. That's the overturned truck. Okay, and this is the original disaster from East Palestine. So there we are. Was there more? I think, oh, there is more. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Yes, Ohio State Highway Patrol troopers were called to State Route 165 around 1 p.m. on Monday for a single vehicle crash involving a tractor with a trailer. Tractor trailer had an open top. It had an open top. They didn't even have a cover on this thing. Come on. Seriously? 74-year-old driver Philip Felt. You got a 74-year-old guy driving a truck? Shouldn't that guy be retired on an island somewhere, drinking mojitos or something? Margaritas? I don't know, whatever he likes. Come on, people. We can do better. We have to. He hit a ditch and utility pole before eventually overturning. Come on. This is, Kathy, it's she says it's a tragedy of error. It really is a comedy of errors. And, comedies can be tragic too. If we go back to the classic Shakespeare. But yeah, Jesus. I mean, some of these stories, it's like they borderline on Onion articles, right? All right. So what are we going to do? I don't know if you call it incompetence or you just negligence. Did it hit a pothole? Kathy asks. I wouldn't be shocked because the condition of the roads in our nation, and yeah, I'm generalizing, they're terrible. Yeah, sometimes you'll hit an interstate highway and it'll be fine, but we can't just keep doing this thing where they get these contracts to the lowest bidder, which is usually Quaker Oats, and then they pave the roads and they last a couple years, and then the potholes start taking chunks out, or the chunks of potholes start falling out and people break tires, and then they have to go and get money from the state to do construction projects because they can't get federal funding for them, which is ridiculous. I would say if you can get Congress to pay for things like infrastructure, then the states will have more money to do everything else that they need to do to support their states. Infrastructure should have been a no-brainer for people in Congress. For people to vote no on that is for them to not understand how federal spending works. And yeah, I'm going to rant about that from time to time when I'm on the show. Federal spending is not the same as state and local spending. So while you do end up paying taxes for both, you know how you guys have to do a tax return. Well, if you're in the US, you do 2 tax returns. You do 1 tax return for your state. You'll do 1 tax return for federal. And so because you pay state taxes and federal taxes out of your paychecks. And but people think that because your state taxes pay for things on the state level, that the federal taxes pay for things on the federal level. No. Federal taxes, they're destroyed on receipt. I know a lot of people are shaking their heads going, federal taxes they're not a funding source. I know a lot of people think they are. They're like, oh, but what about Social Security? Technically, even though they say you're paying into like a fund and stuff, they're obligated by law to do payments for Social Security. So literally, technically, that's federal spending that also is not literally supported by taxes. Yeah, you paid a certain amount of money into the system, but the truth is you really didn't even, I mean, they're requiring you to, because the US used to not be a fiat currency in the sense that it is now. It used to be on the gold standard. It used to be basically taxed to gold. So I believe it was Nixon, President Nixon, who took us off the gold standard finally, and that's where things like the petrodollar kind of come in. And so the U.S. There's a book you guys could read. It's called The Deficit Myth by Stephanie Kelton, and it explains that. And if you aren't much of a reader, I think she does presentations based on the book, which are pretty good explainers of it too. But the short version of it is what I've been telling you. You pay taxes on the federal level to give the dollar value, because you're required to pay taxes in U.S. dollars, and you can't pay U.S. taxes in any other type of currency. So what that does is it gives money value. So while they don't necessarily need to tax you as much as they currently do, they still kind of have to tax you in order to give money value, or at least there's got to be some other mechanism that makes U.S. dollars have value. And so what the U.S. kind of figured out is, well, if we have this whole situation where we sell oil to everybody and we have other countries pay in U.S. currency instead of their own currency, that gives our money even more strength. So that's where the petrodollar came from. But back to the basics here. Federal spending, you don't have to worry about that. When Congress asks how to pay for it, it tells me and it tells you that they either don't understand that they don't ever have to ask that question on the federal level. They can choose to do something, and then money is created for it because they issue the currency. They're not a currency user like states and local government, and you are. That's why all of this was really unnecessary. We didn't have to have our infrastructure crumbling like this. They could have literally, and it's stupid because the railroad companies have Congress in their pocket. They could have gotten money from Congress to basically do all the safety standards that needed to be done to make sure that their cargo was getting from point A to point B with all these crazy derailments, but they chose not to. Why? Who knows? Maybe they just weren't paying attention to that part. But yeah, it's crazy the priorities that some of our representatives have, and so a lot of people don't have very much confidence in our national leaders, and so it trickles down to local leaders too, and the local leaders have their own issues as well, but local leaders literally have to deal with our budgets. So while we have, unless we can get federal funds. So this is why on previous episodes I would say things like, well, Chuy Garcia shouldn't be running for mayor. He should stay in Congress and get more money for the state, because literally he's already got connections there, right? He's already there. He should be able to get Illinois all the money it needs to do all the infrastructure repairs that it needs to do, that it can't afford to do on its own. So if I got through to any of you on that and you're able to communicate that to others, I think we had a good show today. What other stories do we have tonight? Well, it is 9 o'clock, so I think we can, let's cover a couple more stories, and then I think we're going to call it at 9:30. But let's get into a couple updates. Turn off Kathy's comment there. Yeah, it is a tragedy of errors, though. Okay. You guys ever read stuff on the internet and like 200 ads pop up, so you have to keep scrolling down to actually read the story? It's crazy. Okay. Sun-Times posted this story, which was back on March 29th, but it just got on my radar, and it was an update for something we had covered previously. El Milagro, one of the companies in Chicago that makes tortillas, it says they threatened workers for speaking out, according to the National Labor Relations Board. National Labor Relations Board cited several cases of alleged intimidation and coercion during a campaign of worker activism in 2021 and 2022. Article by David Roeder. And here we are with, see how it jumped like that? Crazy. Here we are with a picture of El Milagro workers picketing in front of the company location at 3050 West 26th Street in September 2021. Federal labor officials have found evidence that Chicago tortilla manufacturer El Milagro has threatened workers with dismissal and other reprisals for organizing to complain about working conditions. Now, we should all have good working conditions, regardless of what you do for a living, right? Staff of the National Labor Relations Board in Chicago said the company violated employees' rights in 2021 and 2022 when some cooperated with the workers' rights group Arise Chicago to call attention to grievances. Workers previously said the effort that included a brief strike brought higher wages and better schedules, but that dangerously high production speeds persisted. The NLRB complaint was issued March 22nd and signed by Regional Director Angie Cowan Hamada. It said a hearing on the charges was scheduled for July 17th before an administrative law judge. The company was given until April 5th to file a response. The agency cited several cases of workers allegedly being warned of firing, plant closures, and a loss of vacation or other benefits if the organizing continued. It said some threats were conveyed to the largely Latino staff by an immigration attorney working for El Milagro, who told them further contact with Arise Chicago would be, quote, futile. The complaint also said the company used surveillance and increased security to intimidate workers. I mean, honestly, these are all things where, they're obvious violations, labor violations. So it wouldn't shock me if the workers went on strike again, but that's just my opinion. Spokeswoman for El Milagro said the charges are false, of course, but had no further comment, citing an open regulatory matter. El Milagro operates from several sites in Chicago, including 3050 West 26th and 2919 Southwestern Avenue, where much of the alleged intimidation occurred. Alfredo Benedetti, a worker in quality control, said many problems at El Milagro have improved as a result of worker activism, but he said other problems have emerged as the company has targeted leaders of the campaign. If we make any small mistake or have to miss work for any reason, they punish us, said Benedetti, whose remarks in Spanish were translated by an Arise staff member. He said, workers are often removed from the schedule for extended periods as punishment. He recalled that a female colleague was injured at work and couldn't get back on shift for 2 months after completing therapy and fully recovering. Did I get the... How did it jump up like that? Okay. Benedetti said most workers support Arise. We're trying to make the company better, and we're going to keep going. The struggle continues, he said. El Milagro could be ordered to publicly advise workers of their right to engage in what labor laws call concerted activity. Well, that was concerted activity was related to the Dill Pickle Co-op story. So yes, it's the same thing again. Or organizing to advocate for better terms and conditions of employment. Look, everyone should have safe working conditions. If your employer's not doing that for you, you're well within your rights to do this. Okay. Oh, this is one. You know what? I'm going to save the other one for Friday, except to just briefly mention it. The interim police superintendent has called for the firing of the officer who shot Adam Toledo. This is a story we had been following since basically since Jerry came on to Chicago Corner. So I think he's going to want to cover this on Friday. So we'll get back to that on Friday. If you want to read the story, and there's also a video. It's in the show notes. You can look in the description of all the videos should on YouTube and Rockfin. And I think Facebook too have the show note description, and there should be a link to the notes from this evening. Let's jump into the live chat really quick before my last little note here. Yeah. Gotta take that off the screen. I'm still kind of uncomfortable just being on the camera by myself, but at least Meatwad's here with me, so it's all good. Yeah. Okay. So, Mad Matt Chicago says delicious, and he's got a taco icon there. I don't know if he's talking about the El Milagro tortillas, but yeah, they are pretty good. And I kind of wish I had a taco right now, actually. But yeah, look, we're all just trying to get along here, right? We're all trying to keep a roof over our heads and be able to make ends meet and pay our bills and not destroy each other in the progress. And in the meantime, we try to eat and make pizza as often as possible. Oh, that's just me? Okay. Thanks, Warren. I appreciate that. It's hard doing this job all by yourself, and I really appreciate and understand that when people do a solo show, it's still a lot of work because even though you're talking back and forth with the live people in the live chat, you're also trying to juggle the stories and make sure that things are up on screen that are entertaining. So, okay, so let's do the last thing here. And I wanted to cover this because today is the 4-year. It's a 4-year anniversary. Julian Assange has been held in Belmarsh prison in the UK for 4 years as of today. We know that he's been what do they call it? A prisoner of conscience for longer than that. I mean, before he was in Belmarsh, he was in the Ecuadorian embassy. So I wanted to, on behalf of Chicago, show solidarity with all the media, everyone in media, independent media, anyone calling for the charges to be dropped and calling for his extradition to the U.S. rescinded, to let the man go home. Because journalism is not a crime. So, with that said, I just wanted to briefly cover a thing that happened today. A petition. This is an article from a little, I think the day before, from the 23rd. No, I don't know how they do dates in this place. It said a petition drive for the release of Julian Assange has begun among members of Congress. Action for Assange activists. We know a member of Action for Assange, Misty Winston, also known as Sarcasm Stardust, is a member of Action for Assange. Supporting Representative Tlaib's petition initiative will storm Capitol Hill. That happened today in Washington, D.C. this Tuesday. Not in the manner of Trump supporters 2 years ago, but peacefully and well, okay, whatever. We're not going to get into that January 6th thing because there's a lot more going on there than a lot of the mainstream media was really sharing with you. And again, I'm not going to get into that tonight. Peacefully and diplomatically, sit-ins of support April 11th. And okay, there is a link in the show notes to the live stream that happened earlier today. They had a bunch of people speaking there. There were a couple weird adverse events of some people who were not affiliated with the group that was holding the event. And one guy, I guess I can say this. There was even one moment where this guy stripped down naked, poured some type of accelerant on him, and came really close to setting himself on fire. It didn't happen. One of the speakers stepped up, John Kiriakou stepped up and talked him out of it, and then he got arrested. But aside from that, it was an event that had some really good speakers in it, and they told it like it was. He's doing journalism. Anyone who thinks that he's going to get a fair trial for doing journalism in the U.S. The U.S. has been trying to arrest him since I think 2012. That was the Obama administration. For those of you keeping score, so it wasn't just red team. It wasn't just blue team. It was basically the U.S. intelligence arm saying, look, we got to shut this guy up because he's leaking all of our secrets. And enough is enough. He's doing journalism. Russia didn't hack it to get the information. He was given the information. He did the same thing that any other news publication like the New York Times would do. He vetted the information. He released it on WikiLeaks. This is you want to make him out to be some bad guy that he isn't. And in the meantime, he's been in Belmarsh, and from what I hear, he's getting in poorer and poorer health, because that was the plan all along. They just wanted to lock him up and let him slowly deteriorate into nothing, to use him as an example. And anyone in media, whether you consider yourself a journalist or a person commentating on news, or even if you're not a journalist or a media commentator, you're just a person who has an opinion, you should be calling out for his freedom. you should be calling for the United States to drop the charges and let the man go home. So that's it. As I was telling my co-hosts earlier today, I want to rip the Band-Aid off. We're not going to be silent about this. We cannot let media be silent about this, because then who's next? Who's gonna get shut down because we don't talk about this anymore? So without getting any deeper into it, that's it. It's the First Amendment, freedom of speech. He's doing journalism. He doesn't belong in a prison cell, regardless of where it is. Let the man go home to his family. And with that, I think we're going to wrap up the show. Not quite making it to 9:30.
You gotta be f***ing kidding me.
Yeah, no, I'm not kidding you. But I'm going to keep using this clip that I uploaded and wearing it out until the sprockets fall out. Actually, I may recut the thing because I'm a big fan of Clerks. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining me this evening on a wonderful Taco Tuesday. I sadly did not have any tacos this evening, but maybe one of the taco places is still open and I can grab one this evening. But I hope you will join us on Friday when Jerry has beaten the internet upstream into submission, and he will be piloting the USS Chicago Corner. Hopefully it'll be able to get to Warp 10 without any difficulties, while I look for the proper thing that there's like 700 videos in here. I'm trying to hit the other. It's been a pretty good night, right? Right, Warren? We did okay? Considering Jerry's computer was in Skynet mode tonight, I think the show didn't go terribly wrong.
Blowjob! Blowjob!
Okay, maybe it went a little sideways and into the ditch once in a while, but it's not like I got up out of my seat.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
So did you do that? Or was I the only one? Okay. All right. Well, again, thank you for joining us this evening on Chicago Corner. Please like, share, subscribe. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. You can find all of that stuff at chicagocornertv.com. And if you want to be a Patreon supporter, throw a few shekels at us, or dollars. Dollars are good. Patreon.com/Chicago Corner.
Get out. And don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.